and abandons any attempt for self-realization. Krishna instructs his friend and disciple Arjuna about the difference between the soul and the body. Krishna says, "Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, meaning the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, meaning the soul, there is no change." Or the soul basically is eternal. This they have concluded by study of the nature of both. That which pervades the entire body is consciousness. You should know that this consciousness is indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada explains, there is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science. And thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever-changing, and the soul is eternal. By transferring attachment from the temporary body to the eternal soul and its eternal relationship to God or Krishna, the disturbed mind can achieve a peaceful state. One who lives without a relationship with Krishna is always distressed and without peace. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Fear, where it says, fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency of illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. The spiritual master is not God. He's the messenger or representative of God who teaches the disciple how to serve the Lord without any selfish motive or desire. Ignoring such instructions and acting whimsically will lead to entanglement by the three modes of nature and repetition of birth and death. Anxiety and fear will exist as long as people act under the influence of the three modes of nature. As a result, one becomes preoccupied by the duality of gain and safety, happiness and distress, etc. The many dualities one encounters in life become sources of bondage and bewilderment. Dualities plague a person who does not have the unique fixed goal of serving God purely to please him and devoid of any material motives and speculative theories. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting statements here. This is a book that I've written. It's called The Development of Faith. Right? So there's some very interesting takeaways in what we just read. The most important takeaway is that without understanding the difference between the soul and the body, one remains in ignorance and is not able to understand how to free oneself from the cycle of birth and death. So the first thing we learn when we become Krishna conscious is, I am not this body. Well, then who am I if I'm not this body? Well, anyway, how do we know I'm not this body? Because the body is always changing. If you say, no, I don't agree with you, I am this body, then I can ask you, which body? The one that was in the womb of your mother, the one you had when you were a little baby, the one that you had when you're a teenager, the one you had when you are a grown person, the one you have in middle age, the one you have at old age, the one you have right before death. Which body are you talking about? Okay? So I can't say I am this body because body is always changing. However, you can say I am the consciousness in the body that is witnessing all the changes. That's what we can say. So therefore, the first thing we learn in Krishna consciousness is, I am not this body. I am a pure spirit soul that is the consciousness in the body, and therefore I come originally from Krishna, and therefore the real purpose of life is to go back to Krishna. So, that solves all the problems of who am I? Everyone is disturbed by this question. Who am I exactly? You cannot answer that question without getting help from the Bhagavad Gita, because we can't really understand who we are unless we understand our relationship with Krishna. Therefore, you have to go to Bhagavad Gita to understand your relationship with Krishna, so that you can correctly understand who you are. You can't understand who you are by yourself. You will always make the mistake of identifying with the temporary body. So, therefore, by hearing lectures given by bona fide devotees, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, by eating Krishna Prasadam, and by associating with genuine devotees, one can gradually understand, who am I? Without that, simply having the association of mundane people who eat, sleep, mate, and defend, and who are interested only in bodily pleasures, you will never understand who you are. You have to have a relationship with a genuine devotee to begin to understand who you really are. And this is a fundamental question of life. People are trying to figure out, who am I exactly? And what should I be doing in this lifetime? Most people don't ask that question. Like Radhika here, this wonderful cow, she can't ask that question. Who am I exactly? Only a human being can ask that question. Maybe in a future life, Radhika will be a human being, and then she can ask that question. But right now, only a human being can ask this question, who am I exactly, and what am I really meant to do in this lifetime? If you don't ask those two questions, then you remain in ignorance, and in ignorance, we unnecessarily suffer. Suffering is unnecessary. Why is that? Because when you know who you are, by the way, the only way you can know who you are is through understanding your relationship with Krishna. If you try to understand who you are in relationship to family members or to friends or relatives or to movie stars or whatever, you'll never really understand who you are. But if you try and understand who you are in relationship with Krishna, you can eventually understand that you are the eternal servant of Krishna. And then that understanding is not enough. You have to go to the conclusion of that understanding. If you understand that you are part and parcel of Krishna and the eternal servant of Krishna, then you should engage in the eternal service to the Lord. Then you become a real person. Without engaging in devotional service to Krishna, we do many things, but we are not actually acting as a real person. We are engaging in mundane activities that leads only to birth, old age, disease, and death. What we need to do is to be engaged in activities that leads to eternal life. Because our soul is eternal, but the body is temporary. Most people never understand that. Therefore, they just go merrily along, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending like animals. And when they die, or right before they die, they're completely confused and they don't know what's going to happen. That is what you would call a failure of the human being. The human being has intelligence by which he or she can understand his or her relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and gradually through devotional service and through regular hearing the Vedic literature spoken by genuine devotees and regularly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become convinced that I am not this body, but my real nature is I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. If you don't come to that realization, you're not a real human being. You're no different than an animal. What does an animal do? Animals eat, they sleep, they mate, and defend. Now, human beings also eat, sleep, mate, and defend. But that's what animals do also. So how do you differentiate a human being from an animal? Well, a human being, a real human being, has the ability to understand his or her relationship with Krishna. If you don't make that endeavor, then even though you look like a human being, even though you have 2 legs and 2 ears and 2 eyes and 2 nostrils and so forth, but actually you're an animal. You're not actually a human being. So this is a fundamental question that we should ask ourselves. Who am I exactly? Am I this body, or am I the soul that's animating the body with consciousness? These are not only philosophical questions, these are what we would call absolutely important questions to be answered in our lifetime. Most people don't ask these questions. They just go merrily along, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there and give you a chance to ask a question, because without asking questions, you will never learn anything. Everything, the way of learning things is to ask questions and hear the answers and test to see if the answers are correct. And if you don't have any questions, that means you're basically brain dead. Brain dead if you have no questions. But there are many questions in life, and oftentimes you don't get a chance to ask somebody qualified to answer your questions. So therefore, does anybody have a question? And don't raise your hands all at the same time. Just go one at a time. Anybody have a question? Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Maharaj, I have this question. Is it possible to get rid of false ego while being in this body?
Getting rid of what?
False ego.
False ego, yes. Very good question. First of all, let's explain what is the false ego. Ego means I am. And if you say, I am this body, that's called the false ego. And if you say, I am the eternal servant of Krishna, that's the real ego. So already, 99.9% of people in the world identify with the false ego. What's the false ego? I am this body. So, it's a rare thing that a person identifies correctly that I am the eternal servant of Krishna. Understanding who you are. Who are you exactly? Well, we are some kind of a servant. We're always serving someone or something. But when you decide to serve Krishna, then you become a real human being. But if you serve all kinds of different, let's say, purposes in life, you want to be a member of a peace movement, or you want to be a member of one political party or another political party and so forth, that type of service is called ignorance. But when you serve Krishna, that is real knowledge, because you're engaging in your eternal position as a servant of Krishna. As a servant, or as a servant taking the service for to help someone win become president of the United States, that is basically ignorance, because it is not sat, it is asat. Sat means eternal, and asat means temporary. So if we serve goals that are temporary, we're in a state of ignorance. But if we serve goals that are eternal, we are in a situation of knowledge. So, we have to decide who we are going to serve. Everybody serves somebody or something. And if you don't have any person to serve, usually people buy a dog and they serve the dog, you say, because they don't have anybody else to serve. But by the way, it's not a good thing to serve a dog or to have a dog. Why? Because you might think of the dog at the moment of death, and next birth you become a dog. I have a friend of mine, she has this dog. From the day she bought that dog, from that point on, all she did was think about the dog. Take the dog out for a walk, bring the dog back home, bathe the dog, feed the dog. Her whole life became consumed by the dog. So what do you think she will think of at the moment of death? What do you think? The dog. Actually, I told her, I said, look, how long do dogs live? And she said, well, I think maybe 12 years, 15 years. I said, well, if you get to that point where the dog dies, don't get another dog. Because if you get another dog, then you'll think of the dog at the moment of life, and you'll become a dog in the next life, you see. So we have to think about these things. The most important moment of our life is the moment of death. For a devotee, a real devotee, the moment of death is the best moment because we will see Krishna. But the moment of death is the worst moment for a person who's not a devotee. They won't see Krishna, but they will see Yamaraj, and it'll scare them like anything. Yamaraj is not, let's say, the person you want to see when you're ready to die. You should see Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, who's playing the flute and who's dancing and who is very beautiful and dear to you. But to see Krishna at the moment of death, you have to be serving Krishna throughout your life. You can't say, well, I'll just play around in this life, and when I'm dying, I'll think of Krishna and go back to Godhead. It doesn't work like that. Practice makes perfect. So if you practice every day serving Krishna, then you'll be able to see Krishna at the moment of death. Okay, so I'll open it up again. Are there any questions? Yes, sir. Give him the microphone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna, thank you.
I have one question. So, let's say a devotee realizes he's different and the body is different, like the soul is different and body is different, and he devotes himself to Krishna. But there are many times in our day-to-day life where he forgets regarding that and indulges into materialistic things. So what is the way that he should remember that he is surrendered to Krishna every moment?
Very good question. The answer to your question is, tell me who your friends are, I can tell you who you are. If you associate only with devotees, that means that you can work with co-workers that are not Krishna conscious. But if you associate with devotees, then you can remember Krishna at the moment of death. Why? Because your friends, the people that you, let's say, talk to regularly, come to the temple and engage in devotional service with devotees and so forth, your co-workers mostly are not interested in Krishna consciousness. So your association with them should be very limited. Of course, you can work as a co-worker, but association means sitting down and eating with someone, going to a party, etc., going hiking with them, whatever. So if you limit yourself associating with non-devotees and make a very concerted effort to associate with genuine devotees all the time, you will become a devotee also. If you're associating with, you can associate with co-workers in a professional way, but not in an intimate way. So, therefore, you don't go to parties with them, you're not interested in hearing what they did in their vacation or how their 401k is going. All that stuff is all nonsense, right? So you shouldn't be interested at all in hearing those things and discussing those things with your coworkers. But you should be very interested in regularly associating with genuine devotees and coming to the temple in your spare time and doing seva. So the less we associate with mundane people, the better. The mundane people always talk about this thing or that thing, but never about Krishna. Even family members are like that. They don't really want to talk about Krishna. They talk about mundane things. So at a certain point, you have to make a decision who you associate with so that you can not be influenced by materialism. So if you associate always with genuine devotees, well, genuine devotees are always going to talk about Krishna. They're always going to talk about how to improve their service to Krishna, how to improve their chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, how to do all kinds of different services for the Lord, and so forth. You're not going to get that type of conversation with non-devotees because they're not interested in serving God. They're interested in serving their own material desires. Right? So therefore, tell me who your friends are. I can tell you who you are. So, who are your friends? Huh? Are they devotees or just co-workers or relatives or whatever? Mm-hmm. Well, when you get to the point where you don't really associate with any non-devotees, you will be on a fast track to go back to Godhead. You have to avoid the association of non-devotees. Now, that doesn't mean you can't talk to them or you can't work with them. But you don't eat with them, you don't you don't go to parties with them, you don't listen to their activities, the vacation that they took, the stocks that they have, and so forth, right? So you have to be very careful who you associate with, because a devotee is understood by his or her constant association with Krishna. That's how you can recognize a devotee. So we should constantly be thinking of Krishna, dancing for Krishna, eating only prasadam, hearing lectures about Krishna, and so forth. That should be our main concern in life. Now, how can you do that? Well, wait a minute. There are people that are hearing about sports. Even at work, they have a little radio with them, and you're listening to, the football game or the basketball game or the baseball game. Almost, all day long, their mind, they're working, but their mind is focused also on what their team is doing. So if they can do that, then you can also meditate 24 hours a day on Krishna. They're proving that you can meditate 24 hours a day on Krishna because they're meditating 24 hours a day on having sense gratification or knowing what's happening in the news or what's what their favorite football team is doing. You see, so they prove to you that you can think 24 hours a day about Krishna because they're thinking 24 hours a day about other things like how to make money, how to engage in sense gratification, or how their team is doing, etc. So, if someone can think 24 hours a day about making money on the stock market, that's proof that you can think 24 hours a day about Krishna. You know anybody who's thinking 24 hours a day about the stock market? So that means you can think 24 hours a day about Krishna, you see. Haribol. Any other questions? Any other questions? Let's see. You got a question? No, you don't have a question. You sure? No, I'm sure. I'm sure you're not sure. Think of a question. If you have no questions, then you'll never learn anything, So is there anything that you don't understand? Therefore, you ask a question about that. Is there anything you don't understand? Okay, we'll give you 5 minutes to think about it. Yes? Well, there's a saying in English, practice makes perfect. So if you're always thinking about Krishna and seeing Krishna, then when you're ready to die, you will also see Krishna. That's why you come to the temple. Are you seeing Krishna right now? Okay, see? That's why we have the temple. That's why we have the deities, so that you can come and meditate on Krishna. And when you're outside of the temple, if you chant Hare Krishna, that's also seeing Krishna. You know how to chant Hare Krishna? Let me hear you. So, both ways. You're seeing Krishna in the temple, and when you're outside, you're always chanting Hare Krishna. Now you're seeing Krishna 24 hours, all the time. Okay? So you should have the mantra on your lips all the time. You say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. You figured out a question yet? See, I knew you had a question. Yeah. Go ahead. You take the microphone so everybody can hear.
So my question is, how do I, or in general other people, like how do they wake up early to go to Mangala Arti or attend Japa camp?
Very good question. And the answer is you go to bed early. If you want to wake up early, you have to go to bed early. So if you go to bed 8:30 at night, you have a good chance of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or 3:30, or 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay? What time do you go to sleep at night? Now?
Usually I go to sleep around 10.
Usually?
Usually, yeah. Sometimes I go earlier, sometimes I go later. Like, yeah.
But do you stay up sometimes like 12 o'clock at night?
That's, I've done it before studying, but that rarely happens.
Okay.
And that's the only time I stay up at 12 is maybe during a break or something.
Oh, when you're not in school.
Yeah, not in school.
In other words, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, basically.
So you should get in the habit of going to sleep early and waking up early. Early to bed, early to rise. Makes a devotee healthy, happy,
and wise.
and wise. So you have to learn to go to sleep early and wake up early every day. Then you can get more things done. You can learn more things about Krishna that way. Yes,
Thank
young John. What is your name?
Bhavish.
What?
Bhavish.
Baresh.
Bhavish. Bhavish.
How do you spell it? Barish. Babish. Okay. Okay, Babish. What's your question? I'm glad you're asking questions, Babish. That means you're not brain dead. If you don't have any questions, that means you're more or less brain dead. So go ahead.
But so I can't. I don't have time to sleep like that early. So I can't wake up in the morning like or 4 o'clock. So I don't know what to do
Why can't you go to sleep early?
because I don't have time.
What do you mean, I don't have time? You have 24 hours. So why do you not have time to go to sleep early?
Because when I come, when I'm done playing, I like come at home like at 9 o'clock. then I have to eat my
You
food.
stay outside playing till
Yeah.
9 o'clock?
Yeah,
No, it's not possible.
that's true.
What?
That's true.
What?
That is actually true.
I didn't understand. Like, normally you'll stay outside of the house and play till 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
That's impossible. It's very cold outside, and it gets dark very early. You still stay outside and play?
Yeah, I go to my friend's house.
Oh, you're going to your friend's house.
Hmm.
But you're not outside, you're in the house.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll play at your friend's house till 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah, sometimes, like almost. Well, I usually come at like 8:30 or 8 o'clock.
Do you do any homework?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Everything is sometimes. Do you eat only sometimes also?
No.
Okay. But you don't study? Don't do homework every day?
I do read a book before I go to play.
Before you go where?
To play.
To play. Okay. Well, look, you should learn to be regulated. Successful people are always regulated. That means you go to bed at the same time, you wake up at the same time, you eat at the same time, you go to school at the same time, you come back from school at the same time. If you're regulated, then you'll be very successful in life. If you're not regulated, sometimes you eat at 5 o'clock, or sometimes you eat at 8 o'clock, or sometimes you eat at 10 o'clock. Not only you won't be healthy, but you'll not be able to get things done. So you have to learn to be regulated, doing things at the same time every day. Right? And the more you are regulated, the more things you can get done. If you're not regulated in your habits, you won't have the mental, let's say, strength to get things done.
Oh,
Go ahead. Is that it?
what?
So what did you understand from my answer?
That you have to be regulated.
Exactly right. Thank you very much. Regulated means you do the same thing at the same time every day.
Hmm.
All right? Now you have an organized life. Haribo. Any other questions anyone has? Any other questions? Ladies, you have a question? No? Are you brain dead? Yes? No, I don't think so. Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
How to know what is the aim of life?
Well, how to know what is the aim of life? You should come to the temple and ask questions. What is the aim of life? The aim of life is to free yourself from the vicious cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. If you don't make an effort to free yourself from that vicious cycle, you're not really a human being. You're just basically like an animal. Animals just eat, sleep, mate, and defend. So there are two-legged animals and there are four-legged animals. The two-legged animals are human beings who only eat, sleep, mate, and defend. A real human being asks the question, what is the purpose of life? What should I be doing so when you answer those questions in the right way, then you realize I should be always engaged in some kind of devotional service for Krishna, and I should associate with devotees of Krishna, and I should always hear about Krishna and his pastimes, and I should be engaged in cooking for Krishna, cleaning for Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, associating with devotees of Krishna like that. You see, so the more you think in that way, of always being in the association of good devotees and always being engaged in some kind of devotional service for the Lord, and always trying to learn something new every day about Krishna, that means that you are a devotee. Right? So some people, they listen all day about baseball, football, basketball, but devotees think all day about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's, let's say, appearance and different, let's say, stories about Krishna's activities and so forth. So it all depends on what you're hearing. If you're hearing about Krishna, you become a devotee. If you're hearing about nonsense, baseball, football, basketball, you're hearing about the stock market, you're hearing about gossiping with your friends and things like that, then you're going to miss the opportunity of purifying your mind so that you can always hear about Krishna. So the less we hear about nonsense and the more we hear about Krishna, the better chance we have of remembering Krishna at the moment of death and going back to the spiritual world. Okay? So everything depends on what you're hearing. Most people hear mundane things all day long throughout their life. So it's difficult for them to focus their mind on Krishna. But if we train the mind to always think about Krishna, serve Krishna, and hear about Krishna and so forth, then we become Krishna conscious. It all depends on what you're hearing. We don't really learn by seeing. We learn by hearing. And then we also learn by using the tongue correctly. The tongue has two functions. It tastes and it vibrates. So if we taste only Krishna Prasadam and we vibrate always Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then by using the tongue correctly, you become Krishna conscious. Most people, they talk mostly nonsense things, what the stock market is doing, and gossiping about what somebody was wearing or what somebody was saying and this thing and that thing. And they waste their time on mundane subjects. Jai Shri Harivilas Maharaj ki jai, Haribol. So we should use our physical assets, such as the tongue and the ears, to focus on Krishna. So we learn by hearing and repeating. You hear something and you repeat it, and gradually you memorize it and you remember it. So if we're always hearing and remembering things about Krishna, then our mind becomes purified. But if we're hearing nonsense things and meditating on nonsense things, then we lose the taste for hearing spiritual things, and we become victims of all nonsense things. Right? So some people, like every day, they want to look at the news. Right? They might spend, half an hour or 1 hour every day listening to the news. You listen to the news every day? Do you listen to the news every day? No? Okay. Yeah, but a lot of people listen to the news every day. They want to know what's happening, in the world. So, everything depends on what you're hearing. See? So if you're always hearing transcendental vibrations, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, all about Krishna's pastimes, like that, your consciousness becomes Krishna conscious. And now you can't take your mind off of Krishna. And that means that at the moment of death also you remember Krishna. See? The most important moment of life is the moment of death, because that's going to determine what's going to happen to you next. So if you've trained yourself to always remember Krishna, then easily you remember Krishna at the moment of death and you go back to the spiritual world. If you haven't trained your mind like that, there's no telling what you're going to think of at the moment of death. So let's say you buy a dog. Do you have a dog? No. Yeah. But if you have a dog, then all day long you'll be thinking about the dog. You have to feed the dog, you have to take the dog out for a walk. You see the point? The point is that you don't want your mind to become disassociated from thinking about Krishna. So that means you should always chant Hare Krishna. That's why we chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds a day. That takes at least 2 hours of the day. Right? But there's no limit to how much you can chant Hare Krishna. So we should always have Krishna on our lips and in our mind. We should always be associating with devotees. We should always regularly come to the temple and do seva. And even at work, we should also think of Krishna. That way, we will be able to think of Krishna at the moment of death, and you go back to the spiritual world. Yes, sir. Is not a question.
So you can also think your dog is Krishna by like.
Have you ever seen a dog that's Krishna?
Yeah, you can like pretend.
Well, if you pretend, that means you're in Maya. You're in an illusion. It's not a real thing.
So my thing is
You should always meditate on real things, not false things.
you can also leave your like dog alone. If you have a dog, you can leave it alone. Like it'll have its fun
You have a
alone.
dog?
No, but you can also.
You never have a dog.
Well, can you just like leave your dog alone and you just chant Hare Krishna? That does make
If you
sense.
want to have a dog, you would spend all your time taking care of the dog. You see. But if you want to have a pet, you get a cow. See, like look at Radhika here. So cows are very close to Krishna. Krishna is a cowherd boy. So if you have a cow, that means you're thinking about Krishna, because Krishna in himself is a cowherd boy. You take care of the cows every day. So if you want to get a pet, you should get a cow, not a dog. All right? That's why we have a cow. That's why the cow is sitting here right now. I always bring the cow whenever I speak, so that young gentlemen like yourself have a chance to associate with a real cow. Krishna himself is with cows every day. He loves cows, and he takes them out to pasture all day, and then he brings them back again. So he's a cowherd boy. Krishna's a cowherd boy. So one of these days you can have a cow also. I have 80 cows. Okay, so it's a little bit past 8:30. If there are no other questions, there are other questions. You had a question, right? Yeah. Go. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's going to give you the microphone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, in the current education system, kids have lots of students have lots of screen time, including homework and the screen, and then they end up watching videos and then games. How to control that? Do you have any?
You have kids?
I have a daughter. Yeah.
Did you give her a cell phone and a computer?
She get computer in the school itself.
So you don't have a computer at home?
So whatever she got from school,
What?
whatever she got from the school, that she has.
They gave her
Laptop in the school.
in the school
Right.
that she can bring home.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
you accepted that?
Yeah.
Why does she have to have a laptop at home?
They did homework and all that over the email or kind of things. Yeah.
So is it a limited cell phone, or not cell phone, but is it a limited computer, or is it unlimited computer? Can she go everywhere with that computer? I mean, look up anything?
There might be some limited. This might be limited, not everything. They're limited. Yeah, they're limited.
It's limited,
Right.
just to receive homework.
But they can browse something on the internet as well, based on their age criteria or something like that.
See, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's true.
Go anywhere then with computer.
Right.
Yeah. So, there's no other way that she can get her homework?
Maybe have to check with the school then.
You should go, and talk to her teacher and say, I want my kid to have a computer, and I want you to, or they can send the homework to you, and then you give it to your child. And now you know what homework she's doing. You should be more interested in her education.
Right.
You shouldn't be, let's say, ignorant of what she's learning. You should be involved in what type of homework she has to do, and the actual, growth of your child. Because she's spending how many hours a day in school? 6 hours a day? 8
Yeah,
hours?
6, 7, something like that.
Yeah, see, and they have her at prime time. You don't have your daughter at prime time anymore.
That's right.
So therefore, you have to be more involved in her life, right? Otherwise, you're going to lose her. She's going to be indoctrinated by the atheistic philosophy. By the way, I'm going to say something now that most people don't understand. The philosophy of modern education is called atheistic humanism. So your homework is to look that up in the dictionary. Atheistic humanism. That is the philosophy of modern education of your kids, of your kid. You didn't know that. They don't talk about it. But that is a fact. So atheistic humanism is the pedagogic, let's say, pedagogic philosophy of modern education. daughter would become an atheist. Why? Because you're not educating her. They're educating her in school. And they're teaching her atheistic humanism. You see? So, it's very dangerous. Schools are dangerous in America. Very dangerous. Because they are what you would call they are conditioning your child to be an atheist, conditioning your child to be an atheist. And one day she'll come home when she's 16 or 18 and say, Dad, I don't believe in God. And you know why? Because you didn't take an interest in knowing what she was learning in school. If you really knew what she was learning in school, you wouldn't put her in school. And it's better to be less intelligent and less educated and highly educated today. Because then she'll probably become a housewife. Right? There's nothing wrong with being trained and becoming a good housewife, getting married and having a good husband and so forth. But nowadays, everybody wants to, every girl, not every girl, but a lot of girls, they want to have a career, you see. So they go to school so many years, and they get a job, and they really don't want to have a lot of children. They just want to have one child or two children maximum. And it's not a good model. Real model is the husband brings home money, and the wife takes care of the children and the house. So when you come home, dinner is ready. You sit down as a family all together. You have the family dinner every night. It's not that one eats at this time, another one eats at that time, and so forth. You should have that family dinner. You do that?
Not all the time.
No, not any of the time. Maybe special occasions. So, you have to learn to have that family dinner. You sit down together, the kids and husband and wife, and you can ask your child, what did you do today? You ever asked her?
I asked.
Yeah. What does she say?
She will just answer this. She will talk about her friend and all that.
What?
Talk about her friend, what she did with her friend, and in the school, friends in the school,
Okay.
and then what teacher taught her, kind of some good things.
How what?
What teacher taught her in the school?
Okay.
Yeah, some little bit she taught.
Good. You should know what she's learning at school every day. So you should learn to have that family dinner every night. We will all sit together. First you say prayers, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, right? Dear Krishna, please lead me in the right path of serving you, and thank you very much for giving us this nice prashad. And I'm going to be your devotee for the rest of my life, like that. So you pray together as a family. If you pray together, you will stay together. If you don't pray together, you won't stay together. So a family that prays together will stay together. So you should have that family dinner every night. We're all sitting on the same table. We're all eating at the same time. And then you can all also have nice discussion about what did you learn today, and things that are relevant on a daily basis in your child's life. You should a person healthy, happy, and wise. You want to be happy and wise? Guess we have to go to sleep now. It's getting late. Harivilas. So you were going to ask a question, weren't you? Huh? How to wake up early? That's a very good question. Even in the microphone. Your question is?
How to wake up early?
Very simple. Go to sleep early. What time do you go to sleep at night?
10.
It's too late.
Yeah.
You should go to sleep 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, 8:30 at the latest. So you can wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, and now you have time to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Do you chant every day?
Yes, Maharaj.
How many rounds?
8.
8.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So now if you go to sleep at 8:30 at night, you wake up, let's say, 4 o'clock in the morning, you reach the table and chant 16 rounds. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Unless anybody else has any other questions, you can ask it now. Otherwise, yeah, Radhika, she does not be held in place. She's okay. Yeah. She's trained now. Okay, so thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Chant Hare Krishna and be